It looks like the proposal for a higher minimum wage will not be in the coronavirus relief bill. Senate Democrats are shelving a plan to use tax hikes on big businesses to get them to raise wages. That's according to people familiar with the matter. The concern is that it wouldn't be possible to get all 50 Senate Democrats on board. This coming as the House passed their relief bill over the weekend with the minimum wage hike included. With me now is Bloomberg News Chief Washington correspondent Kevin Cirilli. Hey, Kevin, so how does this change expedite the voting process here?
Well, look, it's going to make it a lot easier to get to the president's desk. And in fact, even as progressives like Congresswoman Ilhan Omar are calling on Senate Democrats to remove the Senate parliamentarian over this minimum wage ruling, it really isn't going to go anywhere because centrist Democrats in the Senate, like Senator Joe Manchin, Kyrsten Sinema, they've said that they were not even on board with the minimum wage. Now, some additional reporting color for you. Senator Elizabeth Warren has reintroduced legislation on the wealth tax. She'll do so formally later today. But either way, this minimum wage issue is now settled for now and could come back in a couple of months when we talk about a potential tax increases to pay for infrastructure.
So, Kevin, is there a chance that a wealth tax, something like that Senator Warren is proposing, something that includes 3% tax on net worths of over $1 billion, in addition to a wealth tax on people who have over $50 million? Is there a chance that gets in, but a minimum wage hike doesn't? I mean,
no,
which one's more popular?
No, they wouldn't
here?
They would not introduce the wealth tax in the stimulus bill, but she's reintroducing that to start a conversation around longer term spending items like infrastructure. Look, in terms of the $1.9 trillion stimulus bill and where things go from here, I interviewed the Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg on Friday, and what he told me was that they are going to be using every legislative and congressional vehicle possible to just make sure that the mechanics of this are across the finish line within the next 2 weeks so that those $1,400 stimulus checks can go out. But in addition to that, we're not just talking about stimulus checks. We're talking about $350 billion for state and local governments. Some ultra-conservatives in the House of Representatives and in the Senate feel that that's a little more money than to bail out blue states. But ultimately, it's also providing funding for vaccination rollout. So there's a lot more in here than just the stimulus checks and than just the minimum wage debate that we've been covering. But now that the minimum wage debate is settled, it's looking like this will be across the finish line again with sometime within the next 2 weeks. We're hearing from our sources on Capitol Hill that the Senate will introduce their legislation maybe by Wednesday.
Is there any sense of urgency coming from Republicans on this, Kevin? I mean, you mentioned the coronavirus relief, the vaccination elements of this. There were more than 2 million vaccines given yesterday, but if we really want to ramp up here, do we need more funding?
Well, I think it's a fair point. And I think that there are Republicans, and I'm struck by this, right? Because we have really in the media framed this as Republicans don't want to spend nearly $2 trillion and Democrats do. But Republicans aren't saying they don't want to spend any money. They're still saying that they want to spend hundreds of billions of dollars, which in pre-pandemic times is a hefty chunk of change for conservatives to be talking about, especially when they pass a stimulus. They've passed several rounds of stimulus over the last year. So we're still talking about hundreds of billions of dollars, but it's still significantly less than what Democrats are pushing for.
The biggest stories the moment they happen from around the globe. Subscribe to Bloomberg Quick Take now for insight in an instant.